Welcome on, everyone. It is Flavor Friday. I'm Rebecca Connolly, personal chef and business mentor. Today, we're talking about why dinner feels so heavy sometimes. I've been thinking a lot lately about how dinner has quietly become one more thing many of us feel like we have to manage well. Right? Can you relate? Not just cook, but manage. And I think that's why part of planning meals and executing meals at home can start to feel so mentally exhausting, even when we actually enjoy cooking. If that resonates with you, drop a heart down below. All right. So, most of the women that I talk to aren't struggling because they can't cook. We're struggling because there are constantly decisions that are running in the background of the kitchen and the cooking and the meal planning, right? How does this sound? And drop down below some of the background decisions and questions that are running through your mind as you menu plan and cook during the week. What sounds good? What needs to be used up? What fits the budget? What will people actually eat? What's healthy enough? What's fast enough? What's realistic this week? And it's rarely just dinner, right? Dinner is sitting on top of work, on top of schedules, on top of laundry, on top of appointments, emotional labor, and everything else that life already requires. So by 5 p.m., even deciding what to make can feel strangely overwhelming. Or if you've already decided what you're going to make, just the act of getting into the kitchen can seem overwhelming, even if it is pre planned. So I think a lot of us respond to that overwhelm by trying to tighten up the control, right? If we can only just get that system perfect and let it run, it'll work. Right? More planning, more rules, more structure, trying to finally find that system that makes everything run perfectly. But what I've noticed is that when meals start to feel overly controlled, they also start to feel heavier. And honestly, sometimes the pressure to do it right becomes the thing that makes making dinner harder. And not just dinner, we've got those other meals in there too, right? Breakfast, lunch, snacks, holidays, celebrations, and everything in between, right? So I don't think the answer, though, is having no structure. uh, I think structure helps tremendously, but structure and control are not the same thing. Drop down below. What are some of the sayings that you grew up with around the table, such as you get what you get and you don't throw a fit? Drop them down below. I'd love to hear because some of them are regional. I had actually never heard that one until I moved to Oklahoma, and it still sticks in my craw. It's not my favorite. I have a couple of others too. So we don't want to not have structure, right? And we don't want to, if you're a parent and household, you certainly don't want to give up your authority as a parent, but you also don't want to be authoritarian, right? But remember, structure and control are not the same thing. Control tries to account for every possible variable ahead of time, whereas structure gives you a starting point so you don't have to rethink everything from scratch every day. Huge difference, right? Where do you tend to fall right now? Do you are Most of us are somewhere in the middle. One thing I've noticed after years of cooking professionally in other people's homes is that the families who feel calmest around meals are usually not the ones trying to optimize every single dinner. They're usually the ones with the few reliable structures that consistently work for their life. And honestly, that's true in my own home as well. So, what can make the week easier? What can simplify things for you? Hopefully, maybe you have some of these in place. Drop it down below already. Let me know how they're working for you. Having theme nights, right? Monday could be meatless. Taco Tuesday. Wednesday maybe is always pasta. Thursday could be what are the extras from, Sunday through Wednesday that need to get eaten up. Friday could be pizza. Saturday could be we order in or eat out, right? What are some base meals, foundation meals that always work, that you usually always have pantry, freezer ingredients on hand? Maybe you just need to pick up that extra protein, right? What about repeating meals? Repeating meals is not a failure in menu planning. Repeat meals usually means you found something that works, not just flavor and taste wise, but it's also nourishing. Everyone enjoys it. It's probably simple to make, simple to throw together. You don't really need to think about it, right? Again, repeat meals are not a failure in menu planning. Rotating flavors, making sure that there's variety, right? We say eat the rainbow for a good reason, because every single color of vegetable gives us different nutrients. So you want to be rotating flavors, right? But don't make it an optimized rotation. Notice what works in your family and go from there. It can take up to 15 exposures for someone to finally embrace a new food or a new flavor. 15 times introducing it. And, and our taste buds refresh every couple of weeks as well. So don't despair. Keep reintroducing if you're trying to introduce new things, but always have that base of what works to come back to, right? And meals that work during those busy weeks, those busy seasons. Mother's Day is coming up this weekend. May is an incredibly busy month. It is a crazy busy month to even have Mother's Day in. Because as mothers, we're trying to manage everything this month, right? Between graduations, college kids moving back home. What else is in here? End of year, everything. And we're supposed to go out to brunch or have breakfast in bed or whatnot and just have a day off. So meals, work during the busy weeks. What's working for you right now during this incredibly busy May season? Drop it down below. I would love to know. Let's share ideas. Uh, so meals that work, not because they're exciting every time, but because they reduce the number of decisions, right? The mental load has just become incredible for providing meals for those in our household, not just for ourselves, but also for those that we are trying to plan for and with. As my husband and I get older, we are college nesters, and our appetites have reduced, right? Because that seems to happen, I don't know, somewhere in the mid 40s, 50s, early 50s, and but our basic need for protein has increased. So, what are we trying to keep track of? We're trying to keep track of: are we getting enough protein in every meal? Where's that collagen coming from? Am I getting enough fiber? And that's just for me and my husband. But when I had the kids at home, and when they're home for breaks, I also have to take into account what works for them. But thankfully, I was already doing that for years once I started implementing my own flavor first framework in my own home when my kids were, oh, I don't know, about probably 8 and 10, I think. I suddenly had the realization, hey, if this works for clients and it had been working for years, 10 years plus with clients already, I might need to take a look at my own family because I was getting overwhelmed and I was feeling stuck. And, it felt like it was just the same thing that I was making every night, and literally the same thing. And I knew had to be some way to increase the variety just a little bit, just enough to be interesting, right? Okay, I digress just a little bit. All right, if you'd like to keep joining these Flavor Friday conversations, please comment flavor down below and I will send you the group link where these recordings live. Okay, so one thing I've realized personally, and I just got into this a little bit, is that the meals that have worked best in our house usually aren't the most impressive ones. These aren't the ones that are, going to get posted on social media. They're not Instagram worthy. They're not going to end up on Pinterest, right? They're the meals that fit the season that we are in. They don't require a huge amount of mental energy. They feel repeatable and they support life instead of taking it over. In this past week, I have defrosted hamburger and made burgers probably 3 times. It works. And you can get all your veggies on there. Honestly, this is the way of thinking that makes one of the things, blah. This way of thinking about meals is one of those significant things that makes someone naturally suited for personal chef work. Now, when I talk about personal chef, I mean an in home chef who is working with multiple clients on a weekly, every other week, or monthly basis. Also, perhaps providing in home support, culinary support for small events. And you can actually host a small event up to 100 people in your own home, given the right setup. So, if you can do this for your own family, then it's a natural progression to become someone else's partner in their own kitchen to help them the same way. So it's not about perfection. It's not about restaurant level cooking, although it's always fun to have those cooking projects, right? And it's not about making elaborate meals every night. We are talking here about what is happening in your everyday kitchen. Everyday meals, what is getting you through the day, right? So being able to notice patterns, reduce the friction, help meals function better in real life. That's what we're talking about. And that's actually a much more valuable skill than many people realize. And one reason I've been thinking about this so much lately is that so many of us, and I see so many women in my cooking classes that are carrying around this invisible mental load about meals while also quietly underestimating how much practical wisdom they already have. You already have, just because you're living it every day, right? Sometimes what feels ordinary to us is actually a skill set we've built over years without realizing it. So this Sunday, I am teaching a workshop called the 5 p.m. Freedom Framework. And really, the entire workshop is about this exact tension. How do we make meals feel lighter again? Not through perfection, not through another rigid meal plan, but through a simpler way of approaching meals that actually works in real life. That's the key. In real life, we're not taking a PDF, we're not taking a chart, we're not taking 20 recipes, and we're not sort of, shoehorning our next week into that meal plan. We're going to reverse engineer that. So, we're going to talk about reducing decision fatigue, simplifying the starting point, building repeatable structure, and making meals work with your real life instead of against it. So you don't feel like a failure by the time you get to Wednesday, right? You come up with this beautiful plan maybe on Saturday or Sunday. You do all the shopping. Maybe you even do some prep ahead. And then by the time the week goes sideways, usually around Wednesday, maybe even Tuesday, then all of a sudden it's not working and you feel like a failure. That does not have to be the case. And I hope you join me on Sunday so that you can learn how to make meals work with your life instead of against it. So many of us assume that dinner feels hard because we're disorganized or inconsistent, that we can't get it together. Why can't we just follow the plan? But sometimes dinner feels hard because we're trying to carry too many decisions all at once. And reducing that load can change more than we realize. And sometimes it even changes the way we begin thinking about our own abilities too. So, if you'd like the workshop link for Sunday, just comment freedom down below and I will send that right over. Thanks again for joining me for Flavor Friday. I hope to see you again next week and on Sunday.